Hello and welcome. My name is Nate from Video Games Recon. First off, if you've already seen this intro in a previous video, feel free to skip ahead to the time on screen. Otherwise, let me explain that this is one video of 3 in this series, within which I'm going to be bidding farewell to Destiny. As although I've had fun, I have decided to take a sabbatical from this game, potentially indefinitely, until serious changes are made to unleash what I feel is the true potential of this game and universe. For the reasons that will be discussed within these 3 videos, with the working titles, Why I'm Done with Destiny, Where Destiny Went Wrong for Me, a retrospective, What Destiny got right and what changes would get me playing again. The annotations on screen or links in the description will take you to said videos should you be interested. Now, as a caveat, I still may pop back into Destiny every now and again over the next few weeks, just to see what's going on, play the odd Crucible match, and of course, if they do any new missions like the Urn of Sacrifice bounty free within the DLC and similar. But otherwise, I will be trying to refrain from getting aboard the hype train surrounding the DLC rumoured to be known as the Taken King. Even though I know the temptation will be there this fall. But I'm intent on staying strong and not getting sucked in by all the marketing spiel this time. You know what they say, once bitten, twice shy. Anywho, I'm going to put my usual disclaimer out there that this is just my humble opinion, so please try not to lose your shit should you disagree. Instead, feel free to have a rational, I repeat rational, conversation with me and others in the comments section. Anywho, without any further ado, let's do it to it. Before we get into it, some of the topics discussed may be iterations on points previously discussed in other videos in this series, but I will try and give a different take on those points and keep them short. So, why I'm done with Destiny, at least for now anyway. Let's start by flogging a dead horse, shall we? As one of the biggest bugbears with this game is the incoherent and largely irrelevant story. This story, if you can call it that, essentially exists just to set up bounty missions, a tenuous motivation to shoot shit, and to set up future game titles that I can only hope will have a narrative and lore that makes sense and isn't just vague, all over the place, and inconsequential. Take the end of the main game for example. The crescendo of the story is essentially some random robot woman which, instead of answering the millions of questions you have about this universe, like what is the Traveller or the Darkness, and how or why have I been brought back to life, instead all you get is, I don't know, I can't be bothered to answer your questions. The story's out there, go look for it. Whatever the fuck that means. There's no character development and the DLC doesn't even feature any of the previous voice actors like Dinklebot or the Speaker, aside from a couple of lines from the Queen in the newest DLC, which just shows how little they are invested in this narrative that they couldn't give enough of a shit to put their hands in their pockets and pay the previous voice actors. This lack of commitment to a narrative and characters in general leaves you not being able to develop an emotional attachment to anything in Destiny. I literally couldn't give a monkeys about anyone or anything in this game, due to Bungie's abysmal attempts at storytelling. On the upside to this, I've heard that the rumoured Taken King sequel is going to feature story development from a third party, which sounds like a smart move because they clearly don't know what they're doing in that respect anymore. That is presuming they ever did. Right, me thinks it's time to put that shit to bed and bury this dead and zombified horse. Next, this game is very repetitive, and I know that's meant to be the point of a game taking inspiration from MMOs, and at times it does become therapeutic and a comfy pair of slippers to put on and wind down from a hectic day. But when you've played the same strike or mission 100 times or more, it just becomes like watching paint dry. I'm sure some players could play most missions blindfolded, and this would be okay if these missions were still entertaining or challenging in some way. Unlike a traditional MMO that has loads of missions and quests and year upon year adds to this mission set, I struggle to see how the amount of content you get here compares favourably to a traditional MMO, and that how they can scale a game like this that's not digital and instead on separate discs, without having to either essentially abandon games or by having to constantly change discs. In short, it's too repetitive / grindy, and I struggle to see them improving this in the future. Now, don't get it twisted, I'm not afraid on committing to the grind. I was brought up on old school RPGs, take something like Final Fantasy X for example, which in itself isn't without its flaws. But I still put 200 hours plus into that game on just one playthrough, and I didn't feel cheated or particularly bored. And this comes down to three things. I felt empowered by my constant development, the rewards felt worthwhile, and I wasn't reliant on RNGesus to decide whether the time I invested was worth it. To Destiny's credit, although there's not a huge amount to this game, I don't feel cheated by Bungie or Activision, as I've got hundreds of hours of gameplay out of this game. So it's definitely still value for money. But I had to step back from this game recently and ask myself whether it was worth putting the time in. As sure, I've been playing it a lot, but have I been having fun? Or am I just playing it because I feel like I should? And the conclusion I came to is the latter. This game has become boring as fuck, and the DLC has done nothing to change my opinion on this. If anything, it's made things worse, as they're not really mixing it up that much, and the DLC doesn't feel like value for money. I've just become oversaturated to the grind, and without a massive shake up to this game, I struggle to see how I'm going to overcome this feeling anytime soon. And whilst coming to the conclusion that I'm not enjoying this game anymore, it made me think about all the cool and fun games that I'm letting slip through my fingers, whilst feeding my obligation to play this black hole and time dump of a game. There are plenty of other fun games out there that don't feel like a chore, and personally, I'm intent on playing them instead of this good but very flawed game. And for someone who was brought up on single player games and is used to co-op games, that you're not 100% reliant on other people to be able to progress in a game, I just can't stand the fact that you sometimes need 5 people that already play Destiny and want to do the same things that you want to do just to progress into the oh so important endgame. For me, it should be optional or have some sort of matchmaking. I understand the argument for this, that is, in Nightfalls, raids, Prison of Elders and so on, that you need good communication. But if this is the case, it can't be beyond current technology in 2015 to have some sort of audio communication where only people with headsets can join, or to have an actual social space that you can socialise with randoms in. It beggars belief the archaic way in which you have to either message randoms in the tower or go to online forums if you don't have enough friends online that want to play a raid or something. Or more often than not, just end up not bothering because you can't be asked to chase down people just so you can get some undetermined loot that you probably don't even want or need. So, to summarise, I've become totally fatigued with this game and have no motivation or interest in progressing any further as is, without a major reboot or drastic changes to many of the systems and choices surrounding the game mechanics, as discussed in my other videos in the series. And I don't think I'm the only person who feels like this. Sure, Destiny's always going to have its hardcore following, and that's more than okay. More power to you if you're one of those people. Different strokes for different folks. But like me, I'm sure there's many people out there sitting on the fence as to whether to get the sequel in the fall or not. Especially if it's just going to be more of the same. Personally, I would like them to take a year out or get another developer to work on the legacy game while they take that extra development time needed to reboot and refresh this franchise that's stacked with potential if they can just nail down the things that make this game fun and discard all the shit that artificially locks players out of content and feels like a chore. But I think there's a fat chance of Activision letting them do this with all that money to be made and all. That said, in my next videos I'm going to discuss in a retrospective how this came to a crossroads and became the good but flawed game it is today. And in my final video we're going to be coming at this topic from a more positive angle and discussing all the things that Destiny got right and what they could do in a reboot or refresh to get players back who are undecided as to whether they should care about future Destiny titles, who like myself are a little bored and sick of certain development decisions. This just leaves me to say, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe for more BS of a similar nature. Thank you and goodbye.